Well, a very good evening. Thanks for clicking on to it could be the Tuesday night edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It could be the early hours of Wednesday morning, which technically it is. But thanks for clicking on. Whenever you watch this, it'll probably be during a more acceptable time of the day on Wednesday. The time at the moment currently is just after midnight. I'm working at the moment on shifts where I'm starting at like midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, so that's the reason why I'm up and about at this time. See, trying to get the sleep um, last evening was brutal. Truck was very warm. Just was, without sounding particularly disgusting, I was just lying in a kind of pool of sweat last night. So bring on the cooler nights as well as the darker nights. The nights are starting to get, of course, darker anyway, but certainly in terms of temperature, I'm looking forward to getting rid, in a sense, of this warm weather. But in tonight's video, this afternoon's video, whatever you want to call it, I want to actually talk about the winter upcoming. Very, very, very interesting, in my opinion, is going to be this year in particular. Now, if the solar cycle has anything to do with bringing down winter temperatures in particular. Now, of course, back in 2009-10, we had the coldest winter since 78-79. Very, very cold winter indeed. And, they might only come around once every decade, once every 15 years. But based on the solar minimum that occurred about 18 months ago, this is the winter that should present something significant in terms of cold weather, based on the fact that we've seen the solar minimum roughly 18 months prior to the 09-10 winter, and this time around it should be the case. We had a teaser last year. It was a moderately colder winter. We've not had anything like 09-10 since, and the solar cycle is roughly in the same position as it was. So it was around 2010, based on the current sunspot activity, based on the fact that we've went into solar cycle 25 now for about 18 months. The lag effect and response to that. We've got also other parameters in place. Now, the Arctic sea ice extent has been very, very interesting indeed in terms of its strength this year, its resilience to hold on, which has been surprising based on the early summer warmth that we had within the Arctic region, and the exceptionally warm sea surface temperatures compared to normal as well. It has surprised me, and it also is grabbing my attention. So you can see here that I don't know if you can see the cursor. Hopefully you can. But basically the wee red line represents 2021, and we're sitting way above the past nearly 10 years. So the Arctic sea ice extent is stronger than it has been in the last best part of a decade here. So we've got more Arctic sea ice. What does that tell me? It tells me that there is the potential for early development of the cold reservoir within the Arctic region here that could build the cold pool over the top of the pole quicker and potentially stronger this year compared to recent years. So that is a very strong plus when it comes to the Arctic sea ice and the development of winter cold once again. Because of course now polar vortex is back. It's going to start to strengthen as we go through the next several weeks and even the next couple of months here. That polar vortex will really strengthen, but there is indications that we could see a weaker polar vortex, so an early development, early rapid strengthening of the polar vortex, but also there is a lot of reason to believe that we're going into a period now where the global temperature, the global sea surface temperatures will respond. Now, this is the current sea surface temperatures globally at the moment. You can see here there's a heck of a lot of warm water stacked up over our northern ocean basins here, folks. And it's been a very blocky type summer. We had, of course, the very blocky end to winter last year, very cold February, of course, for a period of time anyway, and it was a colder than normal January, in fact, for the British Isles overall. But we had the very strong blocking, remember, during April and May, developed unusually chilly conditions across the UK. Even throughout the summer, we've had strong blocking within the high latitude region here. And that, to me, folks, whatever way you want to look at it, indicates the response of the solar minimum that has occurred. Of course, the solar minimum occurs. The general idea is that it's about 18 months to 24 months after the minimum that you see the response within the global atmosphere here from that solar minimum. So it's going to be a big tester this year in particular, this summer, winter, should I say, and seeing exactly where we're going with this here. So global sea surface temperature anomaly, albeit the waters are very, very warm, they've generally been fairly flat throughout the course of the last month and a half or so here. So global temperature anomaly here for the oceans has been pretty steady, if you ask me. So that's the Arctic sea ice here. Now I want to look. There's a couple of other interesting parameters here. That we'll look at global sea surface temperature anomalies here. Warm water further north, that would indicate more the potential increase in high latitude blocking for the winter season. The quasi-biennial oscillation is slightly in an easterly mode, and it's expected. Now, this is going to be very crucial here, folks. If we can get the sea surface temperature profile the way it is, with warm surrounding Greenland, cool in the central Atlantic, and then warm further south, that's your Atlantic tripole, and that would, of course, boost the potential for Greenland blocking that was seen, of course, back in 0910 so persistently. Persistency in the blocking over the summer months has certainly been quite noteworthy, I think, and a possible indicator of where we're going with the pattern as we go forward here. But the quasi-biennial oscillation in the last year or so has been positive. It's been a westerly mode that has been allowing the winds up in the upper atmosphere within the tropics to blow from west to east. That generally means that you're going to increase the westerlies, the polar jet stream further north in the mid latitude region. If you get more of an easterly, which we've got at the moment, and it's expected to maintain itself from winds blowing at 50 millibars from east to west, then you're increasing the chance of having a weaker polar jet stream and increased chance of high latitude blocking within the mid latitude region here. So there are several players that is very important. Now, also, what's worth noting here, folks, is the Indian Ocean dipole. Now, back in the winter of 1920, one of the warmest winters on record for the British Isles, the IOD, as you can see right here, for the end of summer into the autumn season, was exceptionally off the scale positive. So you had basically the warmest waters over the western Indian Ocean, coolest waters over the eastern Indian Ocean, and there is a lot of belief, at least, that this had a major influence in having a record strong both polar jet stream rowing across the Atlantic west to east, but also in maintained a very powerful polar vortex, through the winter season here. So that is it's currently in a negative state, and typically during the autumn season in particular, you seem to want to get that negative IOD here. So we've got the warmest waters over the eastern Indian Ocean basin, coolest waters near Africa, and that would be another positive indicator in terms of a colder pattern as we go into the heart of the winter season here. So it's going to be very interesting, folks. There's no question about that. If we don't get at least a decent winter this year, then to me, you, you have to almost throw in the towel with regards to the solar minimum and the response, the belief that weak weak solar cycles, solar minimums have that correlation to high latitude blocking and colder winters here. So there is, to me, this is going to be the big test, the big test, and there is the potential, at least, if I'm right in saying this, and I'm not the only one in the meteorological community that believes this, that this is the winter that we should get, possibly, dare I say, an 0910 type of winter coming up here. So I'm going to look more and more at this as we go forward, looking in the finer details. Madden-Julian oscillation is going to be a very crucial player, I think. The La Nina that is expected to come back looks as if it's going to be of a weaker state, because sometimes La Ninas, especially moderate to strong La Ninas, like El Ninos, tend to have a negative impact in terms of winter cold here. But if we can keep the La Nina to a minimum, to a kind of weak state, you've got the IOD negative during the course of the autumn season. We've got the quasi-biennial oscillation, a big player, by the way. I think if that QBO happened to be easterly last year, we would have had a big winter, because we had a lot of blocking. And you notice that as we go into these solar minimums, you tend to increase the negative NAO, the negative Arctic oscillation, the weaker polar vortexes, and when you get the solar maximums, you tend to get the opposite: strong jet streams, strong polar vortexes. We've seen that in the winter of 1920, and also, by the way, and it was actually Gavin Partridge of Gav's Weather Vids that said that interesting teaser winters, if you will, once you get up towards these and the back end of these solar minimums, there is quite an often the case where you get these teaser winters. He put it in a very good way, actually. Get these colder winters. '08 and '09 was a teaser winter prior to the '09-10 winter. Last year seemed to be that as well. It could have been potentially a teaser winter, and you get the winter before the teaser, if you will, '07, '08, one of the warmest winters on record, and that's what happened in 1920, as in 2019-20, that is. So it's, like I say, a lot of positives to look at. A long way to go. We're only in September still, but I hope that you can keep it right here on markloganweather.com for the very latest and keeping up to date as we go forward. Hope you have a great evening, afternoon, morning, whatever time of day you watch this. Bye bye.